Roman Draven was fluent in one language, the language of love. He adored women. They were, in his opinion, perfect. Their curves, a divine temptation. Their perfect handfuls just begged to be touched and worshipped until their sweet moans filled the air like a symphony. And their behinds, two delectable halves made for his hands. But the ultimate treasure, the cherry on top, was their most part. To Roman, there was no greater pleasure than the taste of a woman. Women, to him, were gifts, treasures to be cherished and pleased. But there was one thing that made Roman's blood boil: men who hurt women. To Roman, it was the worst possible crime. Why use violence when there were so many ways to win a woman over? Write her love letters, surprise her with flowers, sing her a song, even a bad one. Or, if you were feeling bold, give her a taste of the pleasure she was missing. There were a million ways to win a woman's heart. Why choose cruelty? Roman couldn't understand it, and he wouldn't tolerate it. Men who hurt women, who used fear instead of charm and respect, were the lowest of the low. He hated them and made it his mission to protect women from such creeps. Roman's eyes burned with fury as he watched what he believed was Alaric forcing himself on Violet. He couldn't believe it, especially from a fellow alpha. Violet's cry for help was a fake-out, though he didn't know it only confirmed his suspicions. "Get Asher!" Roman snapped at his beta, his voice tight with rage. His beta, stunned, quickly left and closed the door. Roman stomped towards Alaric, his fists clenched. Alaric, seeing the misunderstanding in Roman's eyes, raised his hands. "No, it's not what it looks like," he said desperately. But Roman wasn't listening. Blind with rage, he swung, punching Alaric square in the face. Alaric stumbled back, dazed. Violet, free from Alaric's grip, watched with a strange satisfaction. Roman wasn't finished. He grabbed Alaric's shirt and punched him again. Alaric winced, trying to protect himself. "Roman, stop!" he pleaded. But Roman was already winding up for another punch. Suddenly, a soft touch on his back stopped him cold. It was Violet. Her warm hand seemed to melt his anger. Slowly, he turned to face her, his fury fading. Violet smiled and cupped his face in her hands. Her gaze was soft, but unsettling. Before Roman could react, she pulled him down and kissed him. Her lips were hungry, a mix of sweetness and fire that left Roman disarmed. For a moment, he forgot his anger, lost in the kiss. "Oh, crap," thought Alaric, clutching his jaw. He stared in shock and disbelief. Things had gone completely off the rails. He'd thought Violet was fixated on him, but apparently she just wanted someone, anyone, who would give her what she craved. Crap. They were screwed. Roman had always been a fly-by-the-seat-of-his-pants kind of guy, but this was different. Unlike Alaric, who could keep his cool even when faced with serious temptation, Roman had zero chill, especially now. The second Violet's lips met his, the world went blank. She kissed him with a raw passion, like a siren unleashed, wiping any trace of logical thought from his brain. Her lips moved against his with an intensity that mirrored his own, and he was helpless to fight it. The heat between them was electric, burning through his senses. His hands found her waist, gripping her tight as he deepened the kiss, pulling her body flush against his. Every touch, every sound pushed him further into the whirlpool of desire she'd created. Without hesitation, Roman lifted her onto the desk, their mouths still locked. He kissed her with a desperate hunger, like his life depended on it. His fingers dug into her hips, holding her steady as he began to move her against him. A low groan escaped his throat as he pressed against her, the friction driving him crazy. The outline of his was unmistakable, straining against his as he rocked her back and forth. Violet moaned into his mouth, her hands tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. Their tongues danced, the kiss escalating with each passing moment. Roman's mind was a fog, consumed by the feel of her body pressed against his, the taste of her lips, the intoxicating heat radiating from her. He was completely lost in her. The classroom was filled with their moans and gasps, raw and unrestrained, as they gave in to the madness between them. Their bodies moved in a frantic rhythm, clinging to each other like they were the only two people left on Earth. Alaric stood frozen, his face burning with a mix of embarrassment, anger, and something he couldn't quite put his finger on. The way Roman's hands gripped Violet's hips, the way she arched into him. It was obvious to Alaric that if he didn't step in, Roman was about to take things way too far. But that seemed to be exactly what Violet wanted, and he couldn't let that happen. Roman, snap out of it. You don't know what you're doing, and neither does she. She's got you wrapped around her finger, Alaric pleaded, trying to pull his best friend back from the brink. But Roman was completely fixated on Violet, who was pressed up against him, chest to chest. To make matters worse, a mesmerized Roman reached behind her to unhook her. Oh, hell no, not on Alaric's watch. He lunged forward, grabbing Roman's arm and yanking him away from Violet. For a second, he managed to separate them. But the look Roman shot him was chilling. It's like the saying about snatching prey from a lion. Alaric had just done exactly that. Roman's face twisted with rage, morphing into something more animal than human. A guttural growl ripped from his throat as his eyes narrowed, his tongue flickered, and scales erupted on his arms and neck as he partially shifted into a snake-like form. "Roman, don't!" Alaric started, but it was too late. Roman spat a wad of venom straight at him. Alaric dodged, but not completely. The venom grazed his cheek, and within seconds, his body locked up. A sharp groan escaped his lips as he crumpled to the floor, paralyzed but not fatally injured. Even in his crazed state, Roman knew better than to seriously hurt his best friend. Still, the poison burned like crazy as it spread through Alaric's veins. Helpless, Alaric watched as Roman turned back to Violet, who eagerly pulled him close. "So much for being the hero," Alaric thought bitterly, frustration churning inside him. With quick, practiced movements, Roman unclasped Violet's bra and tossed it aside. It landed tauntingly near Alaric's head. The sweet scent of Violet's perfume filled the air, making him groan with a mix of regret and frustration. The irony wasn't lost on him. If he'd let loose earlier, he'd be the one in Roman's shoes. No, he couldn't think like that. Alaric mentally shook himself, even though his body was still locked up. Violet doesn't know what she's doing. It's not her fault. He'd done the right thing. But it was hard to believe that, not with Violet's gasps and moans echoing around him, each sound a painful stab. Roman's hands roamed over Violet's body, his mouth finding her now exposed. Alaric clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms as he fought against the paralysis. A dark, shameful part of him ached with jealousy and longing as he watched Roman lavish attention on her, teasing and worshiping her body with an intensity that rattled him to his core. "Damn it," Alaric groaned through clenched teeth. Even with the venom coursing through him, one part of his body remained unaffected, throbbing with a life of its own in response to the scene in front of him. Alaric should have closed his eyes, blocked it all out, but he couldn't. He didn't want to. The truth was, he was just as captivated as Roman. Only Roman was the one having all the fun. By the time Roman was finished, it was clear Violet was ready for anything. It was time. Dread gnawed at Alaric. Where the heck were his friends when he needed them? But then, a strange sense of relief washed over him. Roman wasn't ready to seal the deal just yet. He seemed to have other plans. He gently laid Violet on her back on top of a desk. The edge wasn't quite enough support, though, and her neck dangled slightly over the side, her gaze falling directly on Alaric. Her eyes burned with a wild, desperate need, a total surrender to whatever Roman was about to do, fueled by pure desire. Alaric's heart pounded as he realized what Roman was up to, especially when he turned away, letting Violet join her on the floor. The intense scent of her arousal hit Alaric like a wave, triggering his own involuntary response. He groaned inwardly, trapped between his instincts and the scene unfolding before him, tormented and captivated in equal measure. As Roman spread Violet's legs wider, Alaric couldn't miss her reaction, the sharp gasp, the way her golden eyes widened with surprise and burgeoning pleasure. From his position on the floor, Alaric found himself unexpectedly drawn to the emotions flickering across Violet's face as Roman expertly coaxed moans from her. Every time Roman shifted his rhythm, Violet's mouth formed a perfect O, her eyes fluttering closed as waves of pleasure washed over her. Her breathing came in short, rapid bursts, her chest rising and falling with each gasp. Her fingers tangled in her hair, tugging slightly with a mix of frustration and ecstasy. The sounds escaping her soft moans, whimpers, squeals, and gasps filled the silent room, a symphony of desire that resonated deep within Alaric. He was completely mesmerized by the euphoric expression that lit up her face as she climaxed. Pure bliss washed over her features, her body momentarily limp in the aftermath. As she lay there, dazed and satisfied, Alaric knew he was witnessing a rare moment of vulnerability and raw beauty. In that instant, he thought Violet might be the most captivating woman he'd ever seen, her expressions etching themselves permanently into his memory.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.